Good morning. Okay, Steve, that's
Good
you.
morning. How are you? Good morning.
Sent out a late email, the saying we were starting late because of Rosh Chodesh. Got it?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to, while you guys get drunk over there, we're going to start the learning sponsor. All right? Okay, learning sponsor Sue and Arnie Garelick, in memory of Malka Proman and Philip Mann and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Hanya Rivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. In memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Arav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Shall assure her children and grandchildren, in memory of her uncle, founding member of BRS, Dr. Israel Brook, Yisrael ben Harav Akiva, Marcia Federbush and family, in memory of her husband, Dr. Oriel Paul Federbush, Oriel Pinchas ben Harav Shimon, Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov, Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, Irving and Pearl Kaplan, friends of Avi Gitler, Avrameir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler, Charna bat Yeshaya, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratoba bat Yisrael Dov, and her memory, friends of Malka Levi, Malka bat Yosef, friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher, friends of Nina Mori Nestor, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak. A month of learning by Sam and Shifra Coleman, in memory of his mother, Sarah Rachel bas Rav Abraham, by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his mother, Dacia Gil bas Meir Halevi, by the Boca Babes, in memory of their dear friend Susan Wertman, Chaya Sarah bat Alter Yosef, by Chaim and Phyllis Reese, in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, by Rabbi Kenneth and Karen Green and friends, in memory of Karen's mother, Nechama bas Moshe HaKohen, by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his father, Meir ben Yaakov. We have a week of learning by Steve and Evie Vigdor, in memory of his mother, Mindel bas Harav Shmuel.
You? The air Shabbos on.
All right.
Attention. An emergency situation has been detected in this building. Proceed to the nearest exit and leave the building. Do not re-enter the building until directed to by the proper authority.
Okay.
Attention. An emergency situation has been detected in this building.
What's today, the 4th? Is today the 4th?
I think you need to leave.
What, Shift? Okay.
An emergency situation has been detected in this building. Proceed to the nearest exit and leave the building. Do not re-enter the building until directed to by the proper authority.
Okay, so that we don't have any days of learning. So, or Torah fund, so that's me. Hashem is having Aliyah Crank, or if you have out the Yeshiva Shem Matzliah, L'chol B'nai Israel, good Gaben Shtia.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
all right. What? What means is that there are times when they're working on the other side of the building and adjusting the electrical. And it's,
Maybe it's a kufa because they did a test at DRS yesterday afternoon.
oh, yeah?
So maybe this is mod. That's
Okay.
error brush. Right.
All right. Okay. right, that could very well be the case. All right, we're on Kaf Zion, I hope. Amud Aleph,
Kav Zayin Amud Aleph, first
top of
one.
the Amud, right? Top of the Amud, Piv Mitzupa Zahav. Okay, so the show and tell. All right, everybody? Okay, so I specifically brought a chauffeur in because when it says that the area of the mouth is covered with gold, okay, it's not done in this one. I was gonna get tin foil and stick it in there, wise guy, all right? Okay, but then somebody would say, hey, that's tin foil, that's not gold.
Also not silver. You're doing show and tell.
Okay, so the point I wanted to make is that if you're using or look at the Koren explanation, okay, they have two pictures of what it might mean when it says that the mouth area of the mouth was covered with gold. One was that this area outside was covered with gold, okay? The other was that there was a gold insert, mouthpiece that was put inside the hole of the shofar. Okay, so they say both of those possibilities, they show in pictures, okay, what it could be. All right. So that's where we start off. We'll get more examples of with shofar shortly. Bahatanya, now we taught in a Braita elsewhere, Tzipiu Zahav b'makom hanachat piv pasul, that any covering of the gold plating in the area of the mouthpiece makes it impossible. Shelo b'makom hanachat piv, when it's not in the area of the mouthpiece, kasher, then it's valid. Amar Abaye, trying to explain the Braita, Kitznan nami matniten. When that Mishnah was taught, he says, we also learned the following in the Mishnah. Shelo b'makom hanafat peh tznan, that it was regarding not in the place of the mouth area. Okay, so what is Abaye's point here? What is he trying to tell us? What?
The Mishnah does not
Okay,
disagree with
the
Brisa.
Mishnah doesn't disagree with the Brisa, right? Okay, ushtei chatzatzrot min hatzdadim. Okay, and then it said that there were two trumpets or horns on either side. Okay, v'tarei kale mi mishtamai, and is it possible that there are two voices, two sounds could be heard at the same time? Okay, v'hatanya, not we taught elsewhere in another Braita, zachor v'shamor dibur echad ne'amru, that these two phrases, okay, remember and observe, were said in one incident. Ma she'ein hapeh yichola ledaber, ve'ein ha'ozen yichola l'shmoa, where therefore the mouth is not able to say, okay, and the ear is not able to hear. So the question is, how can you discern two sounds at the same time, right? Both the trumpet sound and the shofar sound. Okay, l'chach na ma'arich b'shofar, and therefore we stretch out the sound of the shofar. L'memra dekich shama sof tkiya below tchilat tkiya yatsa. Does this mean that if we hear the end of the tkiya sound and missed the beginning of the tkiya sound because it occurred at the same time that the trumpets were sounding, right? That one has fulfilled their obligation. Umimela tchilat tkiya below sof tkiya yatsa, and therefore, as a result, it would appear that from the end of the tkiya, all right, for the beginning, umimela tchilat tkiya below, that the beginning of the tkiya without the end of tkiya, might that mean that one also fulfills the obligation? Right? Tashma. Listen to the following Braita. All right, taka barishona umashach b'shniya kishtayim, that if one blew the tkiya once and then stretched it out, okay, so the later two, okay, sounded like, right? What happens? All right, like two. Ein biado ela achat. Right, that we only have considered one. In other words, this double or extended
The last tekiya of a tekiya
shvarim tekiya. Right.
and make that also, you make it twice as
Long, therefore, is it one. Amai, what's the issue there? Tisalek le batarte. He says, what happens? All right, that I can't read my note.
There's no break.
Okay, all right, they're divided into two. Psuke tekiata mahadre lo pafskina. Okay, that we say we don't divide it into two. In other words, we don't make it considered two separate items. Now, new bright. Okay, you gotta check that. Okay, new bright. Hatokea letoch habor, one who blows into a pit, or letoch hadut, or into a cistern. Okay, or letoch hapitam, which is a large earthenware jug. Okay, im kol shofar shama yatsa. If he heard the actual sound of the shofar, fulfill the obligation. V'im kol havara shama, but if he heard the echo, right, lo yatsa, did not fulfill. Amai, what is the reasoning? Lipuk b'tchilat kia mekame dila arbe v'kala. So let him be yotze, let him fulfill it with the fact that he heard the beginning of the tekiah before it got mixed up with the echo. Okay, elatarte kale, okay, michad gavra lo mishtamai, but two sounds from one person cannot be discerned. Mitre gavre mishtamai, from two people that can be discerned. So the Gemara asks, mitre gavre mi mishtamai, from two people, is it really possible to discern the two different sounds? Vahatanya, but aren't we taught elsewhere in a Braita? B'Torah, okay, when it comes to Torah, echad koreh ve'echad metargem. In other words, when we read the Torah in the time of Chazal, one person read and a separate person afterwards said they was the Maturgaman, was a translator. So they did not do it at the same time, implying that two voices cannot be discerned at the same time. That was pasuk by pasuk, right?
And you think we gotta.
Sound of a shofar, people speak.
Takes a look.
It's very different, so you can hear musical instruments.
Okay, so we're going to see, is that, Marty, a good point? We're going to see if the Gemara attempts to deal with that. Okay? All right, so what happened? So that was the example. Excuse me. Ubilvad shalo yiyu shnayim korin, ushnayim matargaminin. And so long as there aren't two reading at the same time and two translating at the same time. We're going to come back to this issue. It's important. We're going to come back to this issue, especially for Bale Kriya, right, guys? Okay? All right, so let's come on. Lo damya, but here it's not the same. It's not comparable. Why? Okay, is it not comparable? All right. Okay, because we're going to refer to the latter clause of the Braita, Elil Seifa, rather to the end of the Braita. Namely, Bahalel Uba Megillah, Afilu Asara Korim. You could have a situation where in the Hallel or in the reading of Megillus Esther, okay, right? Multiple readers could exist, all right? Alma, therefore, Kevan de Chaviv, since it's dear, Yahiv da'ateh, one is able to direct his intent, right? Keep his mind. One of the readers. Hachanami Kevan de Chaviv Yahiv da'ateh. Maybe we would say here too, okay, that in one case one could keep their mind on one reader. Vishama, and hear it. Ela lama ma'arich b'shofar leida shemitzvat hayom b'shofar. In order to tell us that the mitzvah for that day is clearly based on the shofar. Okay, let's go on now. New piece from our Mishnah. Ubeta'aniyot b'shel zcharim kifufim upiv mitzupa kesef. And we said that on the fast days, they would use a ram's horn, curved ram's horn, and its mouth area was covered with silver. Okay? Ma'ishna, what's the difference? Hatem de zahav, ma'ishna hachab de kesef. That in one case we have the example with silver, the other case the example with gold. Ibayat ema, or if you want, I might say it the following manner. Kol kinufia, anytime where there's an attempt to gather the people, right? The kesef hu, that's used with a silver mouthpiece. Dichtiv, why it's written, aseh lecha shtei chatzotrot kesef, make two trumpets or two horns, silver, with silver. V'ibayat ema, or if you want, I might say, HaTorah chasa al mamonan shel Yisrael, that the Torah wanted to give some break, okay, for the Jewish people regarding their monetary situation. Hatem nami na'avid kesef. There too, we could have made it with silver.
Why did Rosh Hashanah?
Right, right. Why then does it have to be from gold? Afilu hachi kivod yom tov adif. Here we say that the honor of the Yom Tov, of the holiday, is to be preferred. So it gets the better quality mouthpiece. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel, Savar Lame Avad Uvda Kimat Nitin. Okay, Rav Papa, the son of Shmuel, wanted to follow the practice as described in our Mishnah. Okay, Amar le Rabba, and Rava said to him, Lo amru ela b'mikdash, that really only applied in the Beis HaMikdash. Tanya nami hachi, and we have a Braita that says this as well. B'med varim amurim b'mikdash. What was it talked about in the Beis HaMikdash? Aval b'gvulin, but outside in the suburbs, so to speak, makom sheyesh chatzotzrot and shofar. When they use the trumpets, the horns, they don't use a shofar. But makom sheyesh shofar,
That means on a timeless.
right, on a place when they use shofar, namely Rosh Hashanah, okay, and the Yovel, ein chatzotzrot, they don't use trumpets or horns. B'chein hinhig Rabbi Chalafta Tzipori, and likewise did Rabbi Chalafta in Tzipori and Sepphoris for Rabbi Chananya ben Tradion B'sichni. Okay, and Rabbi Chananya ben Tradion.
They wanted to use trumpets.
They wanted to follow the example of the Beis HaMikdash, and they were told not. Why? Those two cities in particular, remember, those were locations where the Sanhedrin met. So they may have thought, since the Sanhedrin meets in these locations, that gives it the status almost of Yerushalayim, but that was not to be done. Okay? Uksheba davar eitzel chachamim, and when the sages heard about it, Amru, they said, Lo hayu nohagim kin ele b'sha'arei mizrach ubahar habayit bilvad. No, it's not where the Sanhedrin sits, but rather only to be done by the eastern gate and where the Har HaBayit is in place. Amar Rava, says Rava v'itema Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, others Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Ma'ikra, what pasuk do we have to bring support to this issue? Tichtiv ubechatzotzrot v'kol shofar hiriu lefnei hamelech Hashem. Okay, with horns and with the sound of the shofar, they made a noise, I use that phrase, before the king Hashem. Lefnei hamelech Hashem hu. In other words, it has to be really before Hashem in that. The ba'inen chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. That's where we need, I'm going to say, both the trumpets, the horns, and the shofar. Aval ba'alma, but in general, lo. That's not the case. Okay, let's go on now. Shaveh hayovel Rosh Hashanah, v'tkiya lebrachot kulei. So according to our Mishnah, we say what was done on Yom Kippur of the Yovel was the same as what was done on Rosh Hashanah regarding the sounds and the blessing. Now, Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, he said as follows, Kiman matzlinin ha'hina, and how do we pray it today? In other words, what's the current practice? Zeh hayom tchilat ma'asecha, zichron liyom rishon. Okay, we have a pasuk that says this is the day of the beginning of your deeds, a reminder, a remembrance of the earlier day. Okay, so in other words, is it just a reminder or is it the same? Okay. Come on, according to whom? Rebbe Eliezer. It's like Rebbe Eliezer. The Amar b'Tishrei nivra ha'olam, who says that Tishrei was the day, the beginning of Tishrei was when the world was created. Now, Meitiv Rav Eina. Rav Eina objected and challenged him with a bright. Shave Yovel Rosh Hashanah l'Tkiya lebrachot. We have a brighta that specifically says that there is an equivalent between Yom Kippur of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah, both for the sound and the blessings. Vaha'ika, but here we also have another pasuk that tells us Zehayom Tchilat Ma'asecha Zichron Liyom Rishon. The Barosh Hashanah Ita Ubiyovel Lita. Okay, that would seem to imply that if you have Zikaron and you have first day, that you do one thing on Rosh Hashanah and something different on Yom Kippur of Yovel. Right. Okay, but the point being, regardless of the date, okay, that it's not parallel. That's the right. Right. Ki katani asha'ara. No, that's taught on the later parts. Now, Rav Shisha Berei the Rabbi Idi, Matne Hachi. And Rav Shisha is going to teach the same lesson in a slightly different manner. Now,
Kikatani Ashera means you leave out the specific references to.
We're going to get to it. Hold it. We're going to come back to that, then you make the comment, okay? So I want to point out here just something stylistic very quickly, that normally when we have Lishna Achrina, it's very often that second language is more easy to understand, more precise. I'm not sure if that's the case we're going to see. That's all I wanted to point out. Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Yitzchak. Ha ditnan. Here, isn't it taught in a Mishnah? Shaveh hayovel Rosh Hashanah l'Tkiya lebrachot. That there's an equivalency between Yom Kippur of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah regarding the shofar sounds and the blessings. Keman, according to whom? Delo Rabbi Eliezer. No, it's not according to Rabbi Eliezer. The Rabbi Eliezer, because were it to be Rabbi Eliezer, Kevan da Amar b'Tishrei nivra ha'olam, since he claims that the first of Tishrei was the creation of the world, ha'ika zeh hayom tchilat ma'asecha. Here, okay, we also have a pasuk that says this is the beginning of your deeds, zichron liyom rishon, a reminder of the first day. The Barosh Hashanah ita ubiyovel lata. That on Rosh Hashanah, okay, there is, in other words, these sounds and blessings, and on Yom Kippur of Yovel, that's not the case. V'chichatani asha'ara, and then when we teach, okay, it's regarding the latter parts. So here's where Michael's comment, okay, is really is to be understood. Michael, repeat it again real quick.
When you say the tefillos of Rosh Hashanah, you add Hayom Haras Olam, all the phrases that are related to it's the birthday of the world. On Yom Kippur, you do the same davening, but those phrases are not said.
Right. Okay.
So it's just a modification.
It's a modification. It's not exactly parallel.
Is that there's no bracha by Yom Kippur either.
What, no, the chasima is the same.
It's
You
the
add
same
the
conclusion.
You do not do the chasima of Rosh Hashanah. You do the chasima of Yom Kippur, but you do it for each of the 9, for the
For the
3
rest.
central brachas. In Rosh, on a normal Yom Kippur, you only have 1 central bracha.
When
But on
is it
Rosh
done?
Hashanah, you have
Is it done
Malchios,
before Musaf
Shas, Kreinis,
on
and
Yom Kippur of the, I'm not, that's Rosh Hashanah, I'm talking about when you
On
go.
Yom Kippur.
When
It's,
do they make
I
this
think it's
bracha?
done in Yom.
Before Musaf?
They say the Musaf
On
of
the
Rosh
Musaf.
Hashanah with the Chasima
Of
of
Yom
Yom
Kippur.
Kippur.
Oh,
So
that's
you
okay.
have
It's
Malchios,
Musaf. Yeah,
Zichronos,
Malchiot,
and Shofar.
Zichronot, and Shofarot.
I understand.
Yeah.
And it's the
That's
blowing
part of
the
Musaf.
Shofar during Musaf
Right,
that makes it Yovel. If
okay.
you don't do it, it's not Yovel.
All right, let's go on. New Mishnah. Now this Mishnah is going to talk specifically regarding shofar. All right, and again, just showing the shofar real quick. Okay, what happens if it's got a hole in it? What happens if it was cracked? Is it cracked lengthwise or is it cracked widthwise?
Has to be lengthwise. 'Cause
Could be
widthwise-
either.
No, we learned later that it.
We're going to see.
Okay.
Okay, so there. Okay, holy shofar. Wise guy. Okay, so in other words, we're going to deal with all of these kinds of issues. All right, all right. Oh, you know, he said shofar. Yes. Right. Okay.
Crack the mouth and tail.
All right.
Hey, take it easy, buddy.
Right. You know, I'll give you 2/3 of a pun for that. And what's 2, right? Shofar, shenisdak, right? V'davko, a shofar that has been cracked and they glue it back together. Pasu. Okay, what? Dahavale kishnei shofarot, right?
Now look at the Rashi says that's glued.
Bedevek shakurin,
Yeah,
glued.
glued.
Okay, you think that's the old French, huh?
Glued.
Yeah.
All right.
Devek should, all right? Davak shivrei shofarot.
Well, what happens to the insect that was made out of chocolate?
We'll get to it. We'll see. Good question, Marvin. What, okay, okay, so what happens now? Devek, all right, divak shivrei shofar. He glued together different parts of a shofar. All right, pasul. It is invalid. All right, we're going to keep going. Nikav v'satmo. There was a hole and he covered it up. He put something in there. Im ma'akevet hatkiyah. If it holds back, it's a deterrent to the appropriate sound. Pasul, invalid. V'im lav kasher. Otherwise, it's valid. Hatokea letoch habor. Okay, we're going to get this twice now. This braita, right? One who blows into a bore. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. I know what you're saying, but hold on a second. One who blows the shofar. It says letoch. Does that mean into the cistern, or that he blows it when he's in the cistern? Okay. Now that's why I want. Oh, all right. Okay, I understand that. But there's a reason that I want us to see 2 possibilities. Litoch would seem to mean that he's blowing it into, as opposed to bitoch. But, okay, or mito, right, but let's see. Right? O litoch hadot, or he does it into a pit, into a cistern, or litoch pitas, into a earthenware jug. Okay, right? Now, what happens? Im kol shofar shama, if one hears the voice, the sound of the shofar, yatsa, fulfilled. Ve'im kol havara shama, if he hears the sound of the echo, that doesn't fulfill the obligation. V'chein mi shaya over achorei beit hakneset, o shaya beito samuch lebeit hakneset. if somebody is passing by the shul, or his house is next door to the shul, v'shama kol shofar, and he hears the sound of the shofar, or kol Megillah, or hears the Megillah reading, im kivein, if it was his intent to be yotze, yatsa, he's fulfilled the obligation. V'im lav, and if not, lo yatsa, he has not fulfilled the obligation. Afal pi shezeh shama, v'zeh shama, even though this one heard, v'zeh shama, and this one heard, zeh kivein libo, v'zeh lo kivein libo. This one had clear intent. The other one did not have clear intent.
Even if the blower does not have the kavanah.
He always does.
Okay, the implication is that the Baal Tekiah should have kavana for all those
to hear.
capable of hearing him. Okay, right?
Yeah, but people do hear it at different volumes. Remember, hearing impaired.
Yes,
I'm not, even if I didn't have my hearing aids on,
right,
and I'm listening to the tekias,
right,
you will hear it louder than me.
correct.
Am I right?
I will hear it louder than you because my hearing aids are adjusted differently, wise guy. All right,
So it's the
He's asking a
person-
great
Can
question.
I finish my question?
Yeah.
Thank you. If the person, like you hear differently and I hear differently, now is the person also, I heard it differently, you heard it differently.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it?
From the shofar.
What
You heard it
volume
from
did
the
you-
shofar? Doesn't matter the volume. You heard it from the shofar,
Direct,
direct.
okay. So what you're telling me now, vice versa, it has to be direct. That means I do hear something without my hearing aids. So are you telling me I have to take out my hearing aids to be yoitzer for that situation?
Yes,
That's a very good question.
that's
I'm-
right.
I'm not, so I don't know if,
There are a few poskim who say no, but Rove HaPoskim said, if you can hear, if you're incapable of hearing without
not
the hearing
saying
aids, different issue. If
No.
you're capable of hearing at all, you have to take out your hearing aids for
You
Friday
gotta
night Kiddush, for
you gotta
Megillah,
show
and
me,
for Shofar.
show me the
I'll
psak,
be glad.
okay? Show me the psak. All right?
That means it's not muktzah to me, but it's muktzah for you that I can take it in and out.
No, it has nothing to do with muktzah.
It
It has
does.
to do with the same thing as hearing it over the phone.
Yes.
You're
I'm
amplifying the
talking
sound.
of
It's
a
like
yontif. Don't tell me now, nobody's picking up a phone now on yontif. If you have a yontif, think what I'm saying.
Hearing aids are not muktzah.
Okay, why? Because it becomes part of me, but it's muktzah to you because you can't wear it. You don't have no use for it.
I wear it. But
Well,
no,
but
hearing
they're
aids
close.
are not muktzah to anybody. They're glacial malachta.
Right,
A hearing
That's
aid is
true.
not muktzah. It's
right,
a-
right. That's
period.
true. That I have that
There
psak.
is an issue, I mean, if you want to get into hearing.
All right.
aids, There is an issue of speaking directly to someone if you know he wears
Right.
a hearing aid.
That's a different
But we
issue.
say that's just misasek.
Okay. All right. Gemara, let's get back. Tanu Rabban and another Braita. Okay? Aruch v'kitzro. All right, what happens if he stretched it out or shortened it? Kasher, it's valid. Guard, right? So in other words, if the shofar, okay, is long and then he cut part of it off, okay? It's valid. Gardo, he scraped it. V'ha'amidu al galdo, and he puts it on an outer layer, right?
He thins the material.
He trims it down, basically, right? Okay, well, there's a difference. Scraping may deal with the inside.
Right, but it-
Galdo is dealing with the
polishes
outside.
away some of
Okay?
the
Kasher, it's valid. Sip'o zahav b'makom hanachat peh pasul. Covering the mouth area with gold, invalid. Shelo b'makom hanachat peh, not in the place of the mouthpiece, kasher is valid. Sip'o zahav mibifnim. If he puts a mouthpiece that's of gold inside, okay, pasul. Okay, mibachutz, if it's on the outside, which might make it simply a decoration, okay? Im nishtaneh kolo mikamut shahaya if it changes the sound from what it normally ought to be, pasul, it's invalid. Ve'im lav, and if not, kasher, then it's valid. Nikei v'satmo, this is a long brighter, okay? A hole was made and then he covers it. Im ma'akev et hatkiya, if it again detracts from the appropriate tkiya sound, pasul, it's invalid. Ve'im lav, and if not, kasher, it's valid. Natan shofar b'toch shofar. He puts a smaller shofar inside a bigger shofar. Okay? Im kol pnimi, if one hears shama, if you hear the sound of the, so to speak, inner shofar, yatsa, fulfilled. V'im kol chitzon shama. But if it's the sound of the outer shofar, lo yatsa. It doesn't fulfill the obligation. Another bright, Tanu Rabbanan. Gardo, okay, again, one scraped it, bein mi bifnim, bein mi bachutz. That's why I said the other one was, this time one scraped it both either inside or outside. Okay, kasher, it's valid. Gordo v'hamido al galdo. Again, they scraped it on the inside, but stood it, okay, where on its outer layer from the outside, kasher. Okay, hiniach shofar b'toch shofar. Another, put one shofar inside another. Im kol pnimi shama, if he heard the inner one, right? Yatsa. Ve'im kol chitzon shama, if he heard the outer one, lo yatsa.
How would you know? Which one?
It would sound different. Okay, hafcho v'takabo. All right, what happens if he holds the shofar like this and blows it like this, upside down? Okay,
I agree with you, but Rashi has
as a different explanation.
Rashi melts the shofar in hot water and then stretches the mouthpiece and
Right.
contracts so that he winds up inverting the normative shape.
Shape, right, okay, all right, so what happens? Lo yatsa, doesn't fulfill the obligation. Amar Rav Papa, lo tema, don't say the hafchei ki tunata, okay, that he turned it inside out like a garment, el sheherchiv et hakatzah, okay, that he stretched what was shorter, v'kitzer et harachav, and shortened what was longer. My tama, what's the reasoning? Kid the Rav Matna, like Rav Matna da Amar Rav Matna, who says, V'ha'avarta, okay, when you pass it, derech ha'avarato. In other words, that has to be carried like it is on the head of the animal. That's the case. Ba'inan, that's what we require. Okay, next piece. The bake shivrei shofarot pasul. If he glued parts of a shofar together to make a new one, it's invalid. Tanu Rabbanan, he says, Hosif alav kolshu, if one added to the shofar, bein b'mino, bein shelo b'mino, whether it's part of its normal substance or not, pasul, it is invalid. Nikei v'satmo, bein b'mino, bein shelo b'mino, pasul. If there was a hole and he filled in the hole with some other material or the same material that's normal for a shofar, again, it's pasul. Rav Natan Omer, he says, b'mino kasher. If he uses the appropriate horn material, it's valid. Shelo b'mino pasul. Not appropriate material, it's invalid. B'mino kasher. You're saying that with its appropriate material, it's valid. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, v'hu shenishtayeh rubo. But that is only so long as the majority of the real shofar, of the original shofar, is still there. Okay? Miklal, the shelo b'mino. This would imply that if one uses a different substance, okay, to fill in the hole, afal pi shenishtayeh rubo pasul, okay, that even if most of it remains, it would be invalid, right? Ikadamate, and there are those that teach it as follows: la aseifa, on the end of the bright, shelo b'mino pasul, that if it's not of its variety, it's invalid. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Vahu shenifchat rubo miklal de bamino. And that's if it removes, lessens the most of it from its general status of its same quality, of its same variety. Afal pi shenifchat rubo kasher. Even though he may have reduced some major amount of the original shofar, it's right, song right, it's still valid. Now back again. Sip o zahav mi bifnim. If he covered the mouthpiece with silver, with gold inside, pasul, it's invalid. Mi bachutz, from outside, im nishtane kolo mikamut shahaya. If it changes the sound from what is normally, right, it is invalid, pasul. Ve'im lav kasher, and if not, it's valid. Nisdak la'orko. Here we got a crack according to its length. Okay, pasul, invalid. L'rachvo, if it's cracked, okay, in the other direction, a width, all right, around here. And actually, I remember having to deal with this issue in a synagogue shofar years ago. All right, l'rachvo, all right. Im nishtayer bo shi'ur tkiya. If it changes the sound of the tkiya sound, kasher. All right, if it does, right, it's still valid. V'im lav pasul. And if not, okay, it's pasul, right? V'kama shi'ur tkiya. And how much must be a sound, the size for a valid tkiya sound? The size of the shofar to make a valid tkiya sound. Peresh Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Kadei shiyochazenu biyado v'yira'eh lakan ulakan. Enough so that he can hold it in his hand and see it from both
A
sides.
little bit more than a tefah.
Right. Okay. Vaya kolo dak. Or what happens if the sound, the volume, is high or thin, or ava, if it's thick or deep, okay, o tsuror, or if it's dry, kasher, rough. All right, then it's valid. Shekol hakolot ksherim, because all of the sounds are valid b'shofar. Shalchule la'abu ad Shmuel. They sent a question, an issue to Shmuel's father. Kad cho. What happens if someone drilled into the shofar? Okay, v'taka bo, and blew from it. Is that valid? Yatsa. He fulfilled the obligation. Pshita. That seems obvious. Kulhunami mukdak kad chulahu. All shofars require, okay, some sort of drilling, right? They make, because you got to drill to make the hole to the mouthpiece. Exactly. Okay. Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi, shekodcho bezichruto. He says, what did he do? Okay, he drilled it through the bone. That's the issue. Mahu detema, what do you say? Min b'mino chotzitz. We might think that these varied different items, they're not exactly the same. The outside of the horn and the bone that's inside, okay? And therefore, that they make a separation and would render it invalid. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that that's not the case. And again, Koran actually has a picture there if you want to look. Okay, what? Right? Okay, Kamash Malan. Hatokea letoch habor, coming back again, blowing into the cistern or within the cistern. O letoch hadut, or within the pit, or if not, excuse me, Amar Rav, says Rav, Huna, lo shanu ela laotan haomdim al sfat habor. This was only taught regarding to those that were standing around the outside of the cistern or the pit. Aval otan haomdim bebor, but those who were inside the pit or the cistern. Okay, assuming that we're saying that it was the Baal Tekeiah was blowing down there in the pit. Okay, Yatsu, they have fulfilled their obligation. Tanya Nami Hachi. And we have a Braita that teaches as follows. Hatokea letoch habor or letoch hadot yatsa. One blowing, okay, I'm going to change the language in a second. One blowing either into the pit or within the confines of the pit. Or letoch hadot, or within the, or into the earthenware jug, into the earthenware cistern. Yatsa has fulfilled the obligation. Vahatnan, but weren't we taught in the Mishnah, lo yatsa, doesn't fulfill? Ela lav shmamina. Don't we learn from this what Rav Huna says? Indeed, shmamina. That's what we learn. Ika derame la mirma. Okay? And there are those who phrase it in slightly different language. I want to say it as follows. Tnan, it's taught in the Mishnah. Hatokea letoch habor or letoch hadut, one who blows into a pit or into a cistern. Lo yatsa, vahatanya yatsa, and isn't it taught fulfills? Excuse me. Amar Rav Huna lo kasha, not a problem. Kan laotan haomdim asfat habor. In one case, we're talking about those stood on the edge of the kan laotan haomdim babor, and the other one inside the bor. And we're going to stop right there. Okay, that was not a boring Gemara. All right, guys.
You made a hole in it, trying to go for it, you didn't finish it off over the dead end, but a hole in the middle here, and glue through there, and made it round.
The hole in the side.